Hello everybody and welcome back. I am delighted to interview Kirsi Valtari, who's EVP from Elisa Automate, and she is going to talk about as AI moves into operations, are telcos operations ready for AI? Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Annie. It's a pleasure to be here. And good morning, everybody from, good afternoon, everybody from my side. And pleasure to be here. It is really an exciting, I think, topic with this event. All right. So my name is Kirsi Valtari. I come from Elisa, Finland, from Elisa and Polystar. And today I'm working as a EVP automation. In actually productizing automation solutions to be offered to telcos. So that's kind of my background. Before this, I have been 20 years in Elisa, working with Elisa Networks, working as VP with consumer services, and so building up networks, building up businesses. That's kind of been my background. And now, past 4 years, automation, telco automation. Right, to the topic of today. So AI, and the question kind of that, are telcos ready for AI? I guess there is a lot to kind of a question. So what should we do to be prepared for AI? What can we expect? What can the AI actually do for us? What are the things that should be put in place? What kind of skills are needed? What kind of talent is needed? Is there something that's kind of going away? Is there something it's kind of presenting a threat or a potential kind of a problem with AI coming? So I think, these kind of questions are naturally there. And certainly I cannot answer all of these, but at least I can bring a little bit of kind of a insight of what we have been doing in Elisa, and especially how we see the AI coming to the operations. Well, first of all, when we think of what to expect from AI and what will be or can be the kind of steps forward, because always when there is something new, it's pretty difficult if you think it as a huge, very large kind of a new thing coming, and you don't know where to start, kind of which step to take first. And thinking of AI, so what will it actually mean to networks? Well, I have here taken the self-driving network, the self-driving cars, as a kind of an example. Looking at traditional industries, I think auto industry, car industry, they are probably the ones that have kind of a most publicly known or an exciting kind of visions and scenarios of using AI, and that is kind of a self-driving car concept. And auto industry has been working on the self-driving car for ages. Since kind of a mid-80s, there has been trials and competitions and stuff. Well, in any case, at this point of time, they've come across a definition of a self-driving car and how they present it. So it's a kind of a maturity model with 6 different levels of maturity for the self-driving car. With level 0, it's practically not much, some assistance to the driver. But then going to the level 1 for the cars, it would be, well, parking assistance. It could be, kind of first level cruise control, etc., etc. And going further, it goes to the kind of a level of hands off. So the driver does not need to have their hands on the steering wheel. It goes to the level of kind of eyes off. The driver does not need to be watching closely. And it goes to the level of kind of a mind off, meaning the driver could maybe even like sleep or whatever. All the way to the level 5, where it says that there doesn't need to be a driver on board. And now it's all very exciting. How does the AI come on? Well, the self-driving car concept, essentially, it has a bunch of sensors. There is all kind of, radar, LiDAR, there is GPS, there is all kind of sensoring systems collecting huge amount of information. And then the kind of the software, the computer-based system, analyzing and making real-time decision based on all this data. And that's kind of, I think, at the heart of the whole thing. And then when we look at like real life and the consumer's life, it's not so that there will suddenly become a full-fledged, complete self-driving car, but there will be these steps. There will be kind of assistance and aids coming step by step by step. So there will be various forms. Well, actually, TM Forum has last year designed a kind of a white paper with very similar model as the one for the auto industry. You see it right there on the left-hand side. It actually has also 6 levels. And again, maturity levels, which make sense. First level being quite manual, it's the level 0. Then going to assisted operations and maintenance. And then going to level 2 with kind of a partial autonomous, where we already have closed loop operations. It may be limited, certain systems, but we have it there. And then going further to level 3, where the system is sensing information from the environment and then using that to make more complex decisions, and then going forward and so on. And in levels 2, 3, and 4, already closed loop automated actions introduced, but kind of varying from a limited scope and then going to a kind of more full-fledged scope, going to levels 4 and 5 to heterogeneous, of course, like multi-vendor, but then multi-technology domains. So that's kind of how the picture would look like. And now I think this is a nice message how TM Forum built it, because it's easy to grasp. And then, by the way, it gives us kind of a step forward. And then how do telcos see? This is another TM Forum survey from last year. And it says that most operators see themselves being in levels 0 and 1 at the moment. However, what is really interesting here is that within next 2 to 3 years, majority of operators see themselves moving to levels 2, 3, and 4. That's fast. 4 years. It's really fast to go that great a step ahead. And in my personal thinking, that means that many operators must be right now building up the capabilities, the kind of foundation, the capabilities on top of which they know they can introduce then automation, automated actions, automated decision making, etc. Right. Then coming back to that what is needed? If we need to think, if operators are ready for this, then what is actually needed? And Now, this is kind of how we see it in Elisa, and this is how Elisa as operator has been building its step forward. But also, this is kind of the rationale of us building up a Elisa Polystar business of offering both analytics and automation. So there needs to be a firm basis. That means the data management. The real-time data needs to be historical time series. It needs to be consistent. It needs to be accessible. So the data management is hugely important there. And of course, analytics, because we do want to know, just as the self-driving car concept, one needs to know kind of the geography on the map. So where are we? And one needs to understand kind of the both internal information, but also in relation to external, like for instance, the customer experience. So one needs to understand the status of each moment. And then on top of that, while having the data, then it's kind of a more easy to go ahead. There are plenty of AI and machine learning use cases already kind of developed and adopted in the industry, which can be taken as the first steps to go forward. But one thing I would like to say here is that what Elisa did long ago, 10 years ago, is kind of a not systematically way to have go step by step by step, but simultaneously, while still building the data, still not being complete at all, we started the first piloting and installation and kind of experiment on going to zero touch, first in the very narrow scope to understand. And what I can say about that, it was extremely useful in building up the understanding for the personnel, that what does it mean to go to build processes based on data using analytics, machine learning, automation, and how does actually the process, the network management process change, because it's completely different carrying your operations on kind of a manual process thinking, or carrying it on automated process and the automated process thinking. And to get kind of this box opened, it's extremely valuable to start doing some of the experimentation immediately also with the kind of an automation level. So looking at the key kind of network management processes or tasks, then we look at the network planning, provisioning, configuration management, optimization, problem management, monitoring and control goes closely, of course, with the problem management also. So these are all areas where there is actually great potential already. And here are some examples what can be done. Like, for instance, I start with the right-hand side bottom, because that's kind of close to my heart. For instance, this like monitoring and control. So network operations center. What we can do is we can automate the kind of the alarm handling, monitoring, all of this. And we can bring in anomaly detection to actually notice if there is happening anything which is kind of outside the regular pattern, outside the kind of a normal situation. And in many cases, it can mean that we can see things that actually otherwise wouldn't be visible in the network. And this allows us to improve the quality in those situations, or in kind of in those places as well. And then there are very exciting things, you know. We all know about kind of the sustainability about the kind of the carbon footprint, about especially radio network being a quite, it's consuming a lot of electricity. So what can we do there? Optimization in forms of intelligent energy saving. That's another, I think, very, very exciting opportunity to think of. And that's where machine learning can be a great help for us. Not going through all of this, however, just saying that I think, you know, many other industries could be envious to telco industry for the sheer fact that due to the kind of a telecommunications standardization nature, well, there couldn't be this kind of telecoms as we have today without the standards, because connectivity across kind of vendor technologies, across technologies, etc., it just requires all these standards and protocol. But on the other hand, that means that we have plenty of well-defined information about the network, and the network it's just like pumping this data, this information all the time. So we actually have a real plenitude of data, and then it's only the question whether the telcos at large have already set in place the data management in such a way that the data is actually available for these various kind of applications of AI. So that means that the data is collected, it's managed, the data formats are such that it's actually accessible. It means that there is a time series of the data. So there is enough data, for instance, for training the machine learning model, and enough data to cover longer periods of time, because there may be seasonalities related to, well, daily, weekly, monthly, and even kind of a year-long or to several years-long cycles. Then, let's see now, the slide changing, yes. Then what kind of approaches? So we clearly see there are many areas in network operations, in network management processes. Then what does this, for instance, machine learning, well, ML AI offer? What can be done? And here are three approaches that can be used. So model-based alarms, that means that using historical data to train the models. And then it's quite convenient when there is kind of something happening, a pattern, which is kind of outside of the kind of a model, then that means that an alarm is created to take care of this kind of a exceptional situation, or the situation that might present a problem situation. And well, several use cases actually been built around this. For instance, site throughput, cell coverage, etc. Customer care complaints being actually, I think, one of the quite early ones. Then there is a second approach. Again, it's model-based, but using the real live data to kind of predict a situation that can happen in the future. And well, this kind of approach has been and can be applied, for instance, to, well, and this energy saving controls, but, well, root cause analysis, very interesting. And then, for instance, I think a very pragmatic is this kind of last one there, this DSLAM cabinet cleaning. So meaning that there might be some dust or something and needs to be cleaned. Maybe you know the dust means that there is temperature rising in the cabinet and so forth. Quite kind of a down to earth, but still important problem. And then I think this third category, anomaly detection, maybe I think today the one as being seen by many, kind of the Swiss Army knife, or you know, the thing that can then quickly bring a lot of wins, since actually it requires less domain expertise in kind of interpreting the data. So anomaly detection with the vast kind of data sets that the telcos have. So there is a lot of upside to be gained there. And thinking that what is the place to start? So which areas are the ones where we could expect kind of a low-hanging fruit? Well, on the y-axis, so there is this quick opportunity potential. Anomaly detection and optimization being seen as the ones that can bring kind of a quick wins, so quite fast to take on board. And then need to understand the data, so how much it requires actually effort to take into use. So that's kind of the x-axis there, and kind of looking at this analysis. So it's kind of the message is that looking at anomaly detection, looking at optimization, that's kind of the places to start. Well, kind of coming to the end, coming to the conclusion. So what does it mean? What is actually needed to be ready for AI, to get started? Well, first of all, in my mind, it's not a big bang to take the AI. It's steps. It's kind of a journey going from one step to the second in the maturity model. That's, I think, how it will be. And secondly, to get started, you actually have to put the foundation in place. I would put it in kind of three things. So first, ensure that the data collection is in place. Ensure that each data, each telco has data in their networks, but it might be there in various vendor systems. It might be that maybe the vendor contracting is not kind of fully thought of. It might be that the vendor systems do not, or the contracts do not actually automatically allow the telco operator itself to get the data flowing in. So it's a contractual procurement thing to have a look at that, but it's also data engineering problem to look at the fact that it's actually kind of the AI ops or data engineering is set, it's in place. Many experts on data science, they say that 80% of the work, it's the data management, it's the data engineering. So that's a very valuable work. It sounds more boring than the ones like introducing fancy AI model. However, that's the majority of the work there, and it's kind of the foundation on which then we can build. Then second point, of course, find the opportunities. This is a business kind of owner thing. There needs to be the business stakeholder stepping in and saying that, okay, this is what I want. This is what I need. Otherwise, nothing's going to happen. This is something I lived through in my own life with the first experiments in my life. That was while I was heading IPTV business. I think I went far too, how would I say, far too unexperienced and with not enough kind of a good target setting to the first experiments. And then there was no real results. So there needs to be a clear business target set. And then thirdly, don't wait. Build, test, learn, start small, but do it immediately. And don't think that you need to do these arrows one by one. Absolutely best thing, start on each one. Well, that was kind of all I have for today. And if there are any questions, I would be very, very happy to answer.
Okay, so we do have a question. It's interesting you talking about the real kind of issue there, Kirsi, being the data management. I wrote up a proof of concept last year about using AI in 5G intelligent operations. And one of the project leaders said to me, AI is great, but it's not an easy technology. And sometimes training the AI is as difficult as raising a baby, which I thought was quite funny from a new dad. So our question is, our delegate asks, what challenges should we expect increasing the relationship between operations and AI, especially considering the opinions of some who may feel replaceable by automation? So about job security, maybe AI taking over the world and automation, enabling automation.
Well, I think job security is something that I think each and every organization will kind of need to discuss. But there is something to it. I see AI as a new tool, a next kind of a century tool for us. And we should kind of, I think, be positive about. We should kind of talk about it with our people, with the specialists, with the staff. We should talk about it and discuss how it can actually help us and the whole staff to grow to the next level. It helps them to do much more interesting and creative work tasks than maybe they would do. So if there is repetitive task, it's kind of a boring. If there is anything like 24/7 kind of operations needed, so the AI and the machine learning, it can take the boring burden off our hands. But then, of course, it means that I think, as responsible employers, we should kind of think of how to train the people, how to give them learning opportunity. So that's for sure.
Okay, another question. We need to be quick, I'm sorry to say. A topic in AI research right now is about approaching universities for research partnerships. Are there specific telco opportunities to work on now to see the benefits to the wider organization that is calling on universities?
There are plenty of opportunities, and I think, as I referred to, like TM Forum, there are kind of organizations and institutions working on this. However, maybe, I'm not the best person to point out a specific kind of a specific kind of a project or so yeah, sorry, I couldn't name one.
Okay, so another question, it'll have to be our last one, is do other telcos need what Polystar/Elisa can offer, or can they and should they develop the AI systems themselves?
I think I think it's always possible to develop themselves. When I look at Elisa, so Elisa has been like building these systems by itself. And that means that any telco can do it, but it requires something. It requires, first of all, you have to have a very strong software arm, and you have to have in your same kind of teams, you have to have your software guys, your network guys, your AI guys. They all have to be there in place. and plus you need time.
Okay. So so your main objective is not to sell into other operators. It's to service, if you like, Elisa.
My main objective is to sell to other operators.
Right. Okay.
I'm just stating the fact that, of course, it's possible. What we can do as Elisa Polizza, we can help you to be much faster. We can deliver, we can implement something to you that it will take you several years. So that's kind of where we can help. We can help to speed the journey. However, you know, I believe in kind of the human potential. So I do believe that these things can be done. It takes time and it takes all these special skills and efforts. We are here to help to make it much faster.
Okay, thank you very much, Kirsi. That was great.